That. There's no question that you can't get any power to the ground if all four wheels are in the air. At 3.85 seconds, that'll give him the number 2 spot behind Bigfoot. But here's a guy that may take advantage of the other way to do this, and that's hit the first jump as hard as he can and literally fly over the finish line.
Warren Davis. Whoa! Almost goes into the mud pit on this one.
Mud racers wouldn't like that. Have a monster truck going through the end before we start things off. The truck way in the air. That was probably the hardest shot we've seen at this track. And at 3.84 seconds, by 100th of a second, he'll knock Nick Jackson down to third. Here's a guy we've seen all year long, Jerry.
That's right. Chuck Hawkins with Excalibur. He's a strong contender.
Seen this truck in the top 3 in the point standings now for the last 6 months. A lot of people seem to think this is the truck that's going to come through in the clutch. Now, Hawkins once again shows that if you keep it low to the ground, you're going to land about 15 feet before the finish line, and then it's time to reapply the throttle, get some extra power to get you across the finish line, although I think that may have been a little more conservative than even Hawkins wanted at 4.34 seconds.
Definitely a very important factor, keeping it low to the ground. This is weapon 1, Jerry Richmond. Whoa, look out! Oh, that was close, Bret.
I'll tell you what, that thing was definitely on 2 wheels. Now, you see, he goes at it full throttle. He was looking to land near the finish line. He nails the throttle once. When it hits, that's when it goes over, hits the mud berm. Look at this thing on 2 wheels, and at 3.72 seconds, that'll be good for the number 1 spot.
All right, 4-wheel crazy with Rob Morris from Fort Worth, Texas, coming up next. This is a screaming machine. On our last show, he had a little bit of trouble. Let's see how he does this time. Good run.
That was the first time we've seen anybody really get aggressive with this track. Morris was going to jump the entire course, literally. You can see the front wheels land about 5 feet before the finish line. He goes into a nosedive, but look at the elapsed time. Maybe horsepower is the way to do it. 340 for the number 1 spot.
Rob Fuchs with First Blood coming up next, and this one is, he really likes to put the pedal down.
Man was voted Rookie of the Year last year in U.S. Outlaw Association. And after watching 4-Wheel Crazy, he goes for the same technique, literally clearing the entire course after that first jump. Lots of air, 3.50 seconds. Jerry, that technique works. That's good for the number 2 spot.
Rob Fuchs is very aggressive. Well, here's our ladder chart now, and this is how our qualifiers went.
That's right. This is the way they'll be pairing up in the first round of competition. Chuck Hawkins in the Excalibur Chevy is number 7. Rocky Mountain Thunder and Nick Jackson's Ford is 6. The Barefoot Team Machine, Warren Davis, who's doing so well in points, is 5th.
Bigfoot, number 4. And then number 3 will be Weapon 1.
Jerry Richmond's new Chevrolet looking real strong in this particular battle. First Blood, Rob Fuchs with a great qualifying run. He'll take on Barefoot in a Ford and Chevy battle in the first round. And the most aggressive driver in our qualifying session so far, the incredible 4-Wheel Crazy Ford from Texas, leads with a bye run in the first round. But we've got more action coming up. Championship Mud Racing first round will be next. Don't even think about going away.
Stay with us.
Back, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready for the first round of Super Modified Mud Racing. We're lucky enough to have the winningest mud racer of all time with us on the floor, Clay Langley. Clay, how do things look for your new ride for 1990?
Well, we've done a lot of changing here. We put new gear ratios in. We put new shocks and everything on it. You know, I think we've made it probably a half a second faster, you know, in the last 2 or 3 races. I figure in the next race or 2, you know, we'll be right up there with the top dogs. And I appreciate a lot of help from Cam. They've helped me a lot in the last year or so.
Well, it looks like the new points fund this year has made things a lot more competitive.
It's helped, I think it's helped the sport a lot. You know, it's brought a lot of racers in. The money's real good, you know, and I figured by the end of the year, you know, it'd be a real big sport.
Who's that with you, Clay?
This is my son here. He's one of the future generation mud racers.
Well, thank you very much, Clay.
Okay. Thank you.
Quite a man, a winner of more mud titles than any other man since literally the early 1980s, and trying to come back as strong as he once was. But here, Jerry, is the man who dominated this event 1 year ago and is the hometown favorite.
Larry Jarrett with Locomotion. Keep in mind now, it's 80 feet to start and 80 feet to stop in mud bog racing.
Be qualifying the 4 quickest drivers for the shootout to determine the overall champion. Looks like we're ready.
Good run.
Now, interestingly enough, Jarrett shut the engine off well before the finish line, Jerry, and that has a lot to do with his fear of getting disqualified because of what you said. Only 80 feet of shutdown after this 80-foot track. Picture-perfect run on top of the mud, the supercharged Chevrolet engine working, but there you see the tires stop, and Jarrett already on the brakes trying to stop it. Look at the elapsed time, 1.91 seconds. Jerry, a new track record of the very first run.
He's going to have a tough time to beat that one. All right, chances are, driver is Bubba Clement.
All aluminum, supercharged Chevy-powered Jeep funny car is always tough out of the state of Texas, but what a mark to beat. 1.91 seconds stared him in the face already, Jerry.
Well, the best of the best are here tonight. Let's watch. Chances are.
A great run, no question about it. You saw the rear end of the machine fall down just a little bit off the starting line. This is a very, very tricky track. It's all clay, and as a matter of fact, as this event goes on, you'll see problems with ruts developing on the starting line. But Clement's drawing an early starting position, gets a beauty out of the way right at the start. The elapsed time, 2.20 seconds. A good run, but I think that goes to show you just how much Larry Jarrett knows this racetrack. This machine coming up has to be one of the most exquisitely engineered mud racers we have seen in a long, long time. This thing is awesome, Jerry. It's
a neat-looking machine, high anxiety, and it's driven by Keith Addison. Big wing over the machine on the back of the bed.
Really takes a lot from drag racing's train of thought. Supercharged big block Chevrolet engine, the tires tucked under the body panels. That's something we don't see too much in this sport. The extended wheelbase, the Chevy mini truck body. This thing is slick.
Eases it to the starting line, getting it ready to go. Keith Addison rolls into the timing lights. Look at the mud picked up by those exhaust headers.
I'll tell you, it is amazing the amount of exhaust pressure coming out of those exhausts. Look at this thing. It looks like a steam locomotive going through the finish line lights. The run not as good as he had hoped. There was a lot of tire spin, and it seems like with the tires up under the body panels, he may be experiencing some problems in getting the mud out of there. 2.36 seconds for the high anxiety machine. Still a good run.
Okay, next up, a little roadster. This is Tim Richardson with the Warrior.
Once again, a brand new machine, and you can see a lot of drag racing influence in, pretty much of a four-wheel drive, AA fuel alternate, they call them in the sport. Supercharged big block Chevrolet, fiberglass 1923 T Ford roadster body. It's a neat little car, brand new entry.
Rolls it to the line, here we go. Oh, and he lost the fire.
Something goes wrong, and I'll tell you, I didn't see any explosion or anything else on the slow motion replay here. The machine actually comes up on the mud pretty well, but then it just seems to lose power. I wouldn't be surprised, Jerry, if that was an electrical problem, coil wire just cutting the engine.
I would say it certainly looked like that kind of thing because it went so fast.
Speaking of so fast, here is the current USHRA Association 80-foot track record holder at 1.76 seconds. This thing flies, Jerry.
This is the American Made, driven by Jim Weber.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin veteran has managed to hold a position in the top 5 of the point standings now for about 6 months.
Sounds real healthy. Let's watch him. Oh! And he gets it stopped.
Boy, just barely. That thing was sliding. Again, this clay is so slippery when it gets wet. Look at Weber's supercharged Chevy up on top of the mud. The front end just grazing that pit. In fact, airborne at about the finish line. Now watch him lock those brakes up. All 4 wheels locked. The driver trying to slide the car sideways if he has to stay within bounds. A great, great run. 1.96 seconds. And indeed, Weber threatens Larry Jarrett. Tremendous run. And we've now got 4 cars qualified for the shootout, but we've got more in the first round coming up. Stay with us.